What's going on, guys? JHoyt back with you today. Welcome back to some Call of Duty Modern Warfare. We got some more CDL playlist for you in the background. We're playing some domination on St. Petrograd. Actually, kind of surprising map. It's actually kind of one of my top 3 maps after Hackney and Gunrunner. But today, of course, it's Monday for me. I think this is the earliest I've ever recorded a video. And we have the CDL Seattle recap for you. And this time, I'm actually super proud of myself because I absolutely nailed this one. Like, pretty much. I mean, we'll obviously get to the parts where I got right later on. But this event was pretty insane. But let's get right into the matches. As the first round winners, round 1 featured London and Los Angeles Guerrillas. Now this one, as soon as you look at this matchup, you think of the LA Guerrillas and you think probably an easy win for whatever their team they're facing. But no, this one goes game 5. But London ends up taking it, moving them on. So good first showing for the new roster without JerkyXP and added in 0. Then you had the Seattle Surge at their own homestand getting kind of smoked by the New York Subliners. They go out 3-1. So the Subliners move on to face off against London. Staying in Group A though, we had the knockout match round 1. We featured the LA Guerrillas versus the Seattle Surge once again. However, the result was not the same. Yeah, you heard that correct. Not the same. For the first time in I think forever, the Los Angeles Guerrillas won a match. Now, not even that they just won a match, but they beat Seattle, which hasn't happened in forever. Or if at all, I should say. But the LA knocks out Seattle in their own homestand, going, was it 2-6. So they get double first rounded, knocking them out of the tournament. But jumping up to the winner's side now, you're going to have London versus New York. Now this one, you know, I thought this was going to be a lot closer of a matchup, especially given the new caliber of these teams. However, London just comes out and just straight 3-0s them. They go from a game 5 with the worst team in the league to beat New York 3-0, which just does not make sense to me. But that knocks New York down to the losers bracket as they have another chance to move on as they face off against the LA Guerrillas. And this one, the LA Guerrillas can't keep their hot streak going. They lose in the second round. New York moves on to the semifinals in the losers bracket. The London Royal Ravens proceed in the winner's side. Down in Group B, we're going to have the Paris Legion against the Chicago Huntsmen. Now, Paris has been a team that started the season out hot and hasn't really done anything since then. They've kind of been on the decline. I mean, they're still sitting in a decent spot. I mean, they sit in 8th right now. That's not actually, they're tied for 8th with New York after this event. So I don't know what they got to do, but they just might need to change up the roster a little bit, a couple of roles maybe. But something's got to change over in the Paris side if they want to fix this. I don't want to call it a slump, but a slump. So whether that's, you know, getting another European player, I know there's a couple on the bench. Maybe JerkyXP goes there from London. That might help them out. I know Kismet's a beast, but maybe he just doesn't fit in with that European lineup. You never know what the case is in the Paris camp, but they lose this one in the first round. Chicago wins this 3-1, you know, being a really good debut tournament for Pristini. The second matchup of winners round 1 featured the Minnesota Roker versus Optic Gaming Los Angeles. Now this one, you know, this could have gone either way. Like I said, I think I predicted game 5 in the predictions video. I think I had Optic Gaming winning this one. I don't exactly remember, but Minnesota ends up taking it in the game 5, knocking Optic to the losers bracket. Now down in the losers bracket, we're going to have Paris and Optic Gaming Los Angeles. This one, Paris bows out again. Double first rounded. And like I said earlier, probably something needs to switch up in that camp, because you've seen some of the top teams, with the exception of Atlanta and Dallas, you know, they've all made roster changes or role changes or done something, and they've been leading to success, right? You've seen Optic make a change and have been doing a lot better. You've seen London make a change, and they had a really good event, which we'll get onto later on. Florida made a change, and they're kind of still hovering there. And then Chicago brings in Persini with a big roster change, you know, obviously benching Gunless. So you have a couple of teams that have done a lot better since they made a roster change, and maybe Paris needs to start thinking about one. But with that win against Paris, Optic Gaming Los Angeles moves on to the second round to face off against the loser of our next matchup. We have the qualifier match, Chicago Huntsman versus the Minnesota Roker. Now, again, Minnesota, another one of those teams similar to Paris, where they started out the year really hot, and since then they've been kind of stale. And again, what would it take to make this team better? What would it take to make this team change up and get back to the early game level? Perhaps a roster change, perhaps, you know, just a different strategy going into games. Maybe it's just a different mindset going in. You never know what's going to happen there, but Minnesota might be one of those teams that might want to do something. Like I said, they still sit in 4th place overall, so they're not in a horrible spot. They sit with 120 CDL points, so they're, like I said, they're top 5 right now. That's a good spot, but you know, if they're not going to be able to continue a good run of form, then they might have to start thinking about something else. But the Roker go down in a 3-0 fashion, with Chicago dropping the Roker down to face off against Optic Gaming Los Angeles, where they get 3-0'd by Optic Gaming. So in the first round, Minnesota wins 3-2. Roker then move on to the next matchup, get 3-0'd, and then in their losers bracket, Minnesota gets 3-0'd once again. So Chicago and Optic Gaming Los Angeles move on to the semifinals. With London and New York, Chicago and Optic Gaming Los Angeles moving on to the semifinals. Remember, we got to reseed them, right? We're going to have the London Royal Ravens versus Optic Gaming Los Angeles. Now this one, again, there was some talks that there was some server issues on the side of Optic Gaming Los Angeles. Without seeing, you know, direct facts and proof of, you know, those server issues, then it's hard to just go off what they're saying. But obviously they're professional players. They play all day long, that they should know what they're talking about. But London makes it to the first grand finals of the year, I believe, for them, immediately after a roster change. That's huge. Our second matchup features the Chicago Huntsmen versus the New York Subliners. Now this matchup has been a good one ever since the Subliners got Mac, but the new roster with Persini for Chicago ends up being too strong in this one. Couple of clutches both ways. Scump had a huge 1v2, and it was just an absolutely crazy series. I gotta admit, that 1v2 where he smoked Mac, I screamed, not even gonna lie. But the Chicago Huntsmen move on to the grand finals versus London. In the grand finals, this one, I could not wait to see, you know, what this game was going to be, right? We predicted Chicago versus Optic, but we got Chicago versus London. So I've been waiting for this matchup. I mean, obviously two really good teams, two teams that just made roster changes, so you don't know how that's going to turn out in the end, but they go to the grand finals. And this matchup was super close. But I honestly felt, except for the S&D, that Chicago had control of every map. And maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but it felt like Chicago was playing correctly. They were outslaying, they were rotating, they were just playing well, although the games were super, super close. But I feel like that's just a COD Modern Warfare thing and how games end up playing out. But it was a good event overall. Obviously, you know, we wish it was on LAN, but Seattle, really tough showing there. And following the event, actually, I think it happened either today or yesterday. You know, following the event, that Chicago didn't like officially announce, but Octane from the Surge kind of said that he's going to be running an MP5 now, and that Karma is going to be a main AR for that team. Now, do I think Karma can make that role work? Yes. But also, Octane, he's one of the best ARs, right? Best ARs of all time. and now you're moving him off from the AR and moving him to a sub. Now, I agree that Seattle needed to make some kind of change, but I definitely don't think this is the right one. All right, Octane's too good on an AR to do anything with, and I don't know. I think they're definitely going to make a mistake. Plus, it seems like from Reddit that the Seattle Surge management has kind of refused to make any kind of roster moves or try to go and acquire players or anything like that. So really tough scenes coming out from the Surge camp, but you know, it's a tough event for them, but hopefully they can figure out something moving on going towards the next event. But before we wrap this one up, we're going to take a quick look at the standings. In first place, we're going to have the Chicago Huntsmen sitting at 180 CDL points. Second place, Atlanta FaZe doesn't move anywhere, except for out of first place, of course. But they're not playing at this event. But they're only 10 points behind, right? They sit very close to the Huntsmen's backside, and they're sitting in second place with 170 points. Third place, we're going to have the Dallas Empire, also not playing at this event, with 150 CDL points. So again, a decent showing at the next event could prove that they're still, you know, obviously, those are the top three teams, like no question about it. Fourth place, you're going to have the Minnesota Roker sitting at 120 CDL points. The Florida Mutineers round out the top 5 at 100 CDL points. Then you're going to have London making a big jump up to 6th place with 80 CDL points. You have Optic Gaming Los Angeles right behind them at 70. You're going to have Paris and New York tied at 60 and tied at top 8. Then at top 10, you're going to have Toronto and Seattle at 40 CDL points. And of course, in last place, you're going to have the Los Angeles Guerrillas. But like I said, guys, great event overall. Congrats to Chicago for winning it. I said it before in the preview of this tournament that if Chicago didn't win this one, then it would have been a huge failure on their side. But they ended up bringing it home. They did very well. I think they only lost like 3 maps, I think it was. Yeah, 1, 0, 2, and then they lost one in the final. So I think they went 12-3 overall. So that's obviously a huge performance with a new roster, with a new player in there in Pristini. So great showing out of them, like I said. But we're looking forward towards the next event. We're actually going to have the Minnesota homestand. Now, yes, they already had the launch weekend there, but they're going to have their official homestand next event. So, of course, we'll do a preview and predictions once we get there in a little bit, about a week or two, I believe it is. But obviously, I'm going to be excited for that one, given that, you know, some of these teams are going to have time to play with their new rosters and maybe make roster changes of their own. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up here. If you did enjoy, hit the like button down below if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button. And as always, guys, we'll see you next time.